In the dark winters of World War II, deep beneath the frozen forests of Eastern Europe, there were fires that burned without smoke, without light, and without being seen by the enemy. These were not mythical flames, but a very real, ingenious creation of resistance fighters and engineers. An underground fire system that could keep men warm, cook rations, and even dry boots without revealing their position. It was a flame so efficient it could burn for weeks on minimal fuel. Few today remember how it was built or why it worked, but during the war, this hidden fire meant the difference between survival and exposure. This is the story of the forgotten flame that burned underground for weeks. A lost innovation that combined chemistry, physics, and pure human willpower in the harshest conditions imaginable. By 1942, resistance groups across occupied Europe faced an impossible challenge: how to stay warm and cook food without being detected. A campfire, once a symbol of comfort, became a death sentence. Smoke could be seen for miles by patrols or aircraft, and even a small glow at night could give away a hideout. The German army used dogs, spotters, and aerial reconnaissance to hunt partisans, forcing them to retreat deeper into forests and underground caves. Without heat, men froze. Food became impossible to cook. Weapons jammed, clothing stiffened, and morale collapsed. Traditional stoves were too loud and too visible, and even oil lamps posed risks. The solution had to be something that could generate heat safely, invisibly, and for long durations with scarce fuel. What emerged was an unlikely masterpiece, an underground earth furnace capable of burning for days or weeks while remaining completely hidden. The forgotten flame wasn't a single invention, but rather a field-evolved design that combined ancient methods with wartime necessity. The concept was based on controlling air intake, heat direction, and insulation. Resistance engineers realized that if you could limit oxygen flow and surround the heat source with insulating earth and clay, you could make a slow, continuous burn that produced almost no smoke. The construction was deceptively simple. Fighters dug a shallow pit about 1 metre deep and half a metre wide, shaping a small tunnel from one side for airflow and another, longer channel for exhaust. Inside the pit they layered fuel, usually charcoal, peat or dried wood, mixed with soil or clay dust to slow combustion. Over this they placed flat stones, clay or scrap metal plates, sealing the chamber so only the air tunnels remained open. Once lit from the intake end, the fire burned downward and inward in a controlled smoulder, generating steady heat for days. With proper insulation and airflow adjustment, it could last weeks. Some versions incorporated hollow logs filled with sand and wood ash, which acted as natural regulators, keeping the flame from flaring. In regions like Belarus and Poland, resistance fighters even lined the pits with clay to create a semi-permanent underground oven, perfect for cooking or drying. These fires were often so efficient that they continued glowing underground, long after their creators had moved on, leaving faint traces of warmth detectable only by touch. The secret lay in the balance between oxygen and insulation. Normal fires burn out quickly because they consume fuel too fast. By restricting air, the partisans created a process closer to charcoal making, known as pyrolysis, where wood decomposes slowly in limited oxygen, releasing gases that feed the flame gradually. The surrounding soil acted as both a heat sink and a filter, trapping smoke particles and forcing them to reburn before escaping. This combination made the underground fire nearly invisible and, well, incredibly efficient. It wasted almost no energy to light or sound, and the slow combustion allowed it to run on small amounts of fuel gathered from the environment, dry roots, sawdust, or even compacted grass. In effect, it was a self-sustaining stove buried in the ground, designed by necessity to outlast patrols and those long winter nights. One of the most remarkable accounts came from a Polish Home Army unit operating in the forest near Lublin. During the winter of 1943, they built a network of underground bunkers connected by narrow tunnels. At the centre of each bunker, a buried fire pit was constructed using scavenged clay roof tiles and soil. The flame was fed at night and sealed by day, providing steady heat and cooking ability for over a month with minimal smoke detection. Another record from Yugoslav partisans describes a similar setup used to dry wet uniforms and ammunition after river crossings. The fighters would dig the pit inside cave shelters using damp clay to shape a dome over the fire. The slow heat dried equipment safely overnight without igniting flammable materials or drawing attention from enemy patrols nearby. This isn't just a wartime relic, it's a method that still works. Off-grid survivalists, preppers and campers have rediscovered variations of this technique under names like Dakota Fire Hole or Earth Stove. The process remains largely the same. 2 holes connected by a tunnel, one for combustion, one for airflow. The difference lies in execution. By insulating the pit with clay and restricting airflow, you transform a temporary fire into a long-burning heat source. The forgotten flame that burned underground for weeks is more than a wartime curiosity. It's a symbol of resilience, resourcefulness, and human endurance. It reminds us that true strength often burns quietly, hidden beneath the surface, but it endures when all else fails. If you value stories like this, where forgotten inventions meet the spirit of survival, subscribe to Echoes of Valor, share this episode with fellow history enthusiasts, and help keep these lessons from fading into obscurity. Because history's greatest fire wasn't the one that destroyed, it was the one that refused to die.